actually say the word pro? Did he actually say pro users? Do you remember that we hear?
Hello again. It's true that macOS is the heart of what makes a Mac a Mac. And we want as many Mac users as possible to have access to our latest software. And that's why 6 years ago, with the introduction of OS X Mavericks, we began offering our macOS updates free for Mac users. And 2013 was also the year that we first introduced our California naming theme. Now, after spending a year by the ocean, we not only modernized the look and feel of macOS, but we headed to the mountains with macOS Yosemite. Now, as you may be aware, our naming of Mac releases is handled by our crack marketing organization. And as you
This is always good for a
noticed,
laugh.
they went on a 4-year mountain-bound bender. In El Capitan, we added Metal, our groundbreaking graphics technology. In Sierra, we brought Siri to the Mac and extended our capabilities and continuity. And last year, with High Sierra, we focused on deep technology, preparing the Mac for future innovation. Well, this year, we've made some striking changes to macOS. And we've left the high country for a place entirely different, but no less beautiful, and here still in California. And I'd like to take you there now. Our next release of macOS is macOS Mojave. Now, Mojave is beautiful during the day, but what really captured our imagination was the beauty of the desert at night.
Okay, here comes the
And
dark
this
theme
inspired
someone's
one
been
of our
asking
most
for in the
distinctive
comments.
new features, and I'd like to show it to you now. So here we are live in macOS Mojave, and I'd like to show you a new side of Mojave. We call it dark mode.
There's the dark mode you guys were looking
As
for.
you see, dark mode is not just about the dock or the menu bar. It extends to your Windows Chrome, your sidebar, and even the content of the windows. And it's so great for pros. It makes photographic content absolutely pop off the screen.
Yeah, because pros
It's
totally
just
use photos,
gorgeous.
dude. Greg, get over it. It's not real.
So nice. And this is great not just for photography,
The hell?
but when working on presentations or documents. It's also great doing ordinary things if maybe you're working in a dark environment. You just look at calendar and even mail in dark mode. It's so great. And I think some of us are going to want to run dark mode just because it's so cool. I mean, your emoji look great. Your photos look great. I mean, check out your album art in music or your For You feed in Apple Music. But I think one audience that's going to especially appreciate dark mode are some of you here in this room, our developers, because Xcode looks fantastic in dark.
Oh my God. What a reaction. And Bart's
Whether
wondering
it's
if
your
I come with it in
source
dark
code
mode in the corner
or
here.
even Interface Builder and all of its inspectors, they just look fantastic in black. And that's a quick look at dark mode. Now, we were so inspired by this changing desktop wallpaper that we decided to add a new feature to Mojave that I think you'll enjoy. It's called Dynamic Desktop. And when you're using it, your desktop actually subtly changes throughout the day, from morning to afternoon to evening. It's really cool. Now, there's much more to Mojave
My desk totally
that I'd
looks
like
like
to
that.
share with you through demos, and it starts with the desktop. Now, the desktop is so crucial to how many of us use our Macs. When we have files that we're actively working on, we often put them on the desktop, but the result can be a desktop that looks something like this. And so now in Mojave, we have a really great solution, and we call it Desktop Stacks.
Oh my God, we did this at Meta Creations, Meta Tools, HSC software,
Contents of your desktop
25
automatically
ago?
arranged into these stacks.
We totally did.
They can be arranged
Kai
by
Cross gets credit
kind,
for this.
by date, or even by tag. And they're really easy to use. You just click on them, you can see all the contents in the stack, you can double click to open a document and put it away. And they stay organized. So for instance, if I bring forward mail, maybe I drag an image out, I want you to watch what happens, because the image flies right into the right stack. Now, you can also scrub your stacks. So for instance, I'll just scrub across this stack. You see I can select between different photos, pick one up. Actually, let me just hide mail here, mid-drag. Got a little excited with my, with all of my stack action. So I can just drag this out and drop it in just like that. And that's a quick look at stacks. Now, we've also brought some great new changes to the Finder.
I'm going to show you guys after this is over where that was taken from,
Now,
20 plus years ago.
With a new view. We all enjoy using icon view, list view. There's of course column view, but now we've added an all new view called gallery view. Has a big preview up top, a set of thumbnails along the bottom, and it makes it easy to preview images, video, presentations, documents, spreadsheets, PDFs, and of course with images, sometimes you want to know more detail about, for instance, how they were captured. And now the new sidebar in Mojave really helps because it now supports full metadata. So you can see around your photo the camera you took the photo on, the kind of lens, the aperture settings, and so forth. It's really handy. And you'll notice also along the bottom, there's this new area called Quick Actions. And Quick Actions let you act on the current photo. So for instance, if I have a photo like this and I want to edit it, I don't have to open it and go or do a new app. I can rotate it right here inside the Finder. It's really powerful. Now, this sidebar is available in other views of the Finder. So for instance, I'm just going to bring up the preview pane here, and I'm going to do a multi-selection of a PDF as well as several images. And you'll notice that the Quick Actions area is contextual. So it shows me Create PDF as an option. I'm going to click Create PDF, and it's going to assemble all of these photos into a PDF just like that. But what's really great is these actions are also customizable. So you can create automator actions and assign them to buttons here inside of Finder. So you'll notice that now that I have this PDF selected, I have an option to run a custom automator action that I've created called Watermark PDF. When I click it, my custom action runs, and my document is watermarked, just like that. And those are some quick enhancements to the Finder.
Cool.
Now, a tool that I think many of us love when working with files is Quick Look. And now in Mojave, we've made Quick Look more powerful than ever by integrating markup. Let me show you how it works. So you see down here, I have a permission slip in its PDF document. I'm just going to tap spacebar to Quick Look it. And you notice now I have the option to invoke markup. I click, and now I have access to my markup tools, including my ability to sign this document. I can just drag out my signature like this, and I'm done. Now, this works for all kinds of files. So for instance, with images, I can rotate and crop. And with video, I can even trim right here inside of Quick Look. That's a quick look at Quick Look. Next, I want to talk about how we capture content on our Mac, because one of the tools I think many of us use all the time is screenshots. And we've made screenshots more powerful than ever in Mojave. So let's take a look here at a web page, and I'm just going to take a screenshot in the traditional way. I'm going to screenshot a selection of the page, and I want you to watch what happens in the lower right. I get a thumbnail instantly of that screenshot. And when I
Just like
double-click in,
iOS.
I get an accelerated workflow right into markup, where I have access to all of my tools. So for instance, if I want to create a magnification here, I can just drag that out, magnify. It's that easy. But now we've also made it easier to access a variety of tools. So when I bring up my screenshotting, you see I am presented with this HUD that tells me I could capture the entire screen, a selected window or selection, but we've also added screen capture for video right into screenshotting. Let me show you how that works. So I'm going to go to a web page here that has an animation running. I'm going to bring up my screenshotting tools and say to record the selected area. I'll just make a nice selection here. Okay, and I'm recording just like that. Of course, I can manipulate the app, so all be reflected in my recording. And when I'm done, I can click the stop button right up here. And now you notice I have this thumbnail in the lower right. Well, I can actually pick this up and drag it into a new space and incorporate it right into a document, just like that. Now, we further enhance the way you capture content, and that brings me to continuity. So Mac users love continuity for the way it lets us work across our devices with things like AirDrop or the ability to unlock your Mac using your Apple Watch. When it comes to capturing content, we all walk around with one of the best content capture devices in the world in our pockets, our phones. And so we wanted to take advantage of continuity to bring that to the Mac with a feature we call Continuity Camera. Let me show you how it works. So here in my keynote presentation, I have a space that's just waiting for a new photo. And I have my phone right here. Well, when I select this object, I can choose to take a photo. And I want you to watch what happens when I select this to my phone. It automatically, immediately lights up, ready to take a photo. So I can take one like this. And when I do, I can select Use Photo, and it appears directly in my document. Isn't that cool?
That is cool. That is very cool.
Now, this works as well for scanning documents. So here I have a place where I could use a scan. Once again, I'm going to select from the menu, and this time Scan Document. Again, my camera lights up, this time right in my document scanner. I just scan like this. I can save it. And my scan goes immediately in. I think I forgot to push the save button. Sorry about that, everybody. There you go. Appears immediately in my document. Thank you.
That's awesome. That is really, really cool.
And so just like that, I can take photos, stills, and even capture video. And this is a quick look at some great new features in Mojave. Next, I'd like to turn to apps. We are bringing news to the Mac. Now, news has all of the stories you've come to expect from news on iOS, and they look amazing on the Mac display. You get top stories picked by our editors, trending stories, you're personalized for you, and that's not for me, and you also get this great new sidebar where you can drill in and jump right to the topics and channels you follow. News is going to be great. We also have stocks coming to the Mac. Now, you get your stock prices combined with high-quality business news. It's delivered from Apple News. Shows you your watch list with your prices on the left. You can even drill into this interactive chart to get more information. And of course, great news. We're also bringing voice memos to the Mac. Now, voice memos is the most popular voice recorder on iOS. And so many of us use it to capture music recordings or lectures. And now that voice memos syncs via iCloud to your Mac, you can take those recordings that you make and, for instance, drag them right into GarageBand as the foundation for a song. Finally, thrilled to announce Home is coming to the Mac as well. You have all of your accessories here. You can run your scenes as well as monitor your video cameras And of course, with Siri, you can command your home with your voice. So those are 4 great new apps coming to Mojave. Thanks.
Pretty cool.
Next, I'd like to talk about security and privacy. You know, one of the reasons that people choose Apple products is because of our commitment to security and privacy. And we believe that your private data should remain private. Now, not because you've done something wrong or that you have something to hide, but because there can be a lot of sensitive data on your devices, and we think you should be in control of who sees it. Now, to begin, we protect your information on your devices using state-of-the-art hardware and software. And this year, we're adding greater protections about how apps can access that information. Today, Apple devices check in with you before granting an app access to information like your location. You can tell because you'll see an alert just like this one. And macOS already provides API-level protections for things like contacts, photos, calendar, and reminders. But now in Mojave, we're extending these protections to include your camera and your microphone, as well as protecting sensitive parts of your file system, like your mail database, your message history, and your backups. And all of this is protected by default for any app that you run on the system. Important protection. Next, I want to turn to some great enhancements to Safari, because Safari works really hard to protect your privacy, and this year it's working even harder. Last year, we introduced intelligent tracking prevention to dramatically reduce the ability for apps to track you across websites using cookies. This is the kind of thing where you look at a product on one site, then you move to another site, and somehow this is just following you wherever you go. Well, we've all seen these like buttons and share buttons, and these comment fields. Well, it turns out these can be used to track you, whether you click on them or not. And so this year, we are shutting that down.
Well, that's awfully cool.
Now, if you do want to interact with one of these, or one of these apps tries to access that information, you'll get this, and you can decide to keep your information private.
Very
now,
good. Yeah, Facebook's been getting a lot of grief for the like button being a tracking service.
Let's talk about fingerprinting. You know, data companies are clever and relentless. And in addition to cookies, they use another method called fingerprinting. And here's how it works. Just like you can be identified by a fingerprint, it turns out that when you browse the web, your device can be identified by a unique set of characteristics, like its configuration, its fonts that you have installed, and the plugins that you might have on the device. And these data companies can use this set of characteristics to construct a unique fingerprint to track your device from site to site. With Mojave, we're making it much harder for trackers to create a unique fingerprint. We're presenting web pages with only a simplified system configuration. We show them only built-in fonts. And legacy plugins are no longer supported, so those can't contribute to a fingerprint. And as a result, your Mac will look more like everyone else's Mac, and it will be dramatically more difficult for data companies to uniquely identify your device and track you.
I see Bart in the chat room saying, I'm being tracked by fonts. Yeah, this is new to me too. I had no idea.
Now,
that's incredible.
All of these new protections to Safari on both Mojave and iOS 12. Next, let's talk about the Mac App Store. And to do that, I'd like to invite to the stage Ann Ty, our product marketing manager for the App Store. Ann.
Last year, we launched a completely redesigned App Store on iOS. Every day, we celebrate apps, games, and developers. We've written more than 4,000 stories for the New Today tab, and hundreds of them have each been read by more than 1 million people. The response has been incredible, and we've learned a lot. We've got a bunch of great new features coming later this year that we'll cover in sessions. This year, we are turning our attention to the Mac App Store. Since it launched in 2011, it's changed the way we download and install software for Mac, making it easy with one click. It's the biggest catalog of Mac apps in the world. It's also a trusted and safe place to download software, and trusting where you get your apps from has become more important than ever. Developers can distribute their apps to 155 countries and get worldwide payment processing, and it offers seamless software updates from one place. This adds up to a great experience for our users. We've spent a lot of time thinking about what people do on their Macs and wanted to create a place organized around those themes. So we've redesigned an all-new Mac App Store from the ground up, and we're thrilled to show it to you now. It's got a beautiful UI that should feel familiar, but new, and designed first and foremost to be a great Mac app. Starting with the new Discover tab, where each week you can find in-depth editorial about the best Mac apps through stories and collections, and see what's most popular with top charts. Here's a story about musician and founder Kareem Morsi. Learn about how he uses his app, DJ Pro 2, and get inspiration for your own set. Helpful videos autoplay so you can see what apps are capable of before downloading them. Visit the all-new Create, Work, Play, and Develop tabs, where you'll find helpful recommendations and expertise around each theme. Here's the Create tab, where you can find apps that bring your artistic ideas to life. These tabs will also help you make the most of apps you might already have, with tips and tutorials even the most expert users will find useful. The Work, Play, and Develop tabs share the same beautiful design, and you can still browse by category on the Categories tab. We've redesigned product pages too, bringing many features over from iOS based on our learnings there. It has more useful information, like video previews, available on the Mac App Store for the first time, and apps rank if it's charting and if it's been named Editor's Choice. Ratings and reviews are now front and center, and these are so important for app discovery. So we're introducing a ratings and review API for Mac apps. Now it'll be easier than ever for people to leave feedback. We're really excited about the all-new Mac App Store. We've talked to some developers already, and they're really excited too, like Microsoft, who will bring Office 365 to the Mac App Store later this year. And Adobe is bringing Lightroom CC. Panic is bringing Transmit.
Hey, finally.
And Barebones is bringing BB Edit. And many more great names are coming to the all-new Mac App Store too. We can't wait for you to check out the new Mac App Store. Now, I'll hand it back to Craig.
So we think the Mac App Store is going to inspire whole new generations of apps. And so we want to talk about some of the technologies that will be behind some of that next generation. We spoke earlier about ARKit. I want to talk about two more. And let's start with Metal. Now, Metal is the technology to get the highest performance graphics and computation from graphics processors. Metal was designed for modern GPUs. It's incredibly efficient. And that enables amazing console-level games like Fortnite from Epic to run great for the first time on mobile. But Metal also enables these games to scale to take full advantage of modern Macs. In fact, across iOS and the Mac, there are over 1 billion Metal-enabled devices. And we're constantly making Metal better. To bring the highest GPU performance and reach of all Macs, we've recently added support for external GPUs. And this is powered by Metal. And the results are truly mind-boggling. For instance, running a filter in DaVinci Resolve, look at how it scales on the incredibly fast iMac Pro as you add up to 4 eGPUs. Now, the results are even more staggering when you take a 13-inch MacBook Pro and add eGPUs to it, achieving up to 8.5 times speed up. It's pretty awesome. Now, eGPUs also enable Macs to achieve all new levels of performance and realism in 3D rendering and gaming. Now, this beautiful forest you see here, this isn't a video capture. This is from Unity's new Book of the Dead interactive demo, and it's being rendered live right now on a MacBook with an eGPU powering this display. I mean, doesn't this look amazing? Now, of course, because this is rendered live, we can check what's up ahead. So let's start walking. Now, Unity is using Metal's unified graphics and compute to generate real-time lighting and complex post-processing effects. So cool. And that's all rendered live on a MacBook running with an eGPU. It's pretty great. Now, another place where we're doing incredible acceleration with Metal is in machine learning. And today, ML specialists usually use one of these third-party libraries to train their models using servers. And now it turns out we can accelerate tools like this with our new Metal Performance shaders. We're seeing speed-ups of up to 20 times in using the GPU with Metal instead of CPU-based training. And while speeding these tools up is great, we actually think there's a better way for most developers. And that's training on the Mac you already have, using a great new tool we call CreateML. Now, CreateML is designed to let you train without being a machine learning expert. You can train vision and natural language models. You can bring your own custom data, and it's really easy to use because it's all built in Swift. In fact, you can use Xcode playgrounds to train your model. Just drag one in, their training set, and you can drag in your test set as well. And the training is all GPU accelerated, so it's incredibly fast. Now, as an example, we worked with Memrise. They're a developer who uses the camera to identify objects and speak them in multiple languages. And in the past, they would train their model with 20,000 images, and it would take them 24 hours to do so. Well, now, with CreateML, they can train that same model in 48 minutes on a MacBook Pro. And on an iMac Pro, it's just 18 minutes. And what's even more incredible is that model, in the past for them, was 90 megabytes, and now it's just 3 megabytes. It's a huge difference. Now, we also are making models run much faster on device using CoreML2. Now, CoreML is our technology for high-performance on-device machine learning, and now it's better than ever. It's 30% faster in on-device processing using a technique called batch predictions. And you can reduce your model size by up to 75% using quantization. And so that's CoreML and CreateML. You no longer have to be an expert in machine learning to build those techniques into your app. Now, these technologies are redefining what's possible in apps, and they're common not just to macOS, but also to iOS. And the fact that the Mac and iOS share so much technology has led people almost every year to keep asking us the question, are you merging iOS and macOS? Huh. So I'd like to take a moment to briefly address this question. No. Of course not. We love the Mac because and we love Mac OS because it's explicitly created
because it's expensive.
The unique characteristics of Mac hardware, like the ergonomics of the keyboard and the trackpad, the flexibility in displays and storage, and because of the power it exposes, it makes the Mac able to accomplish almost anything. So we think that this question is actually coming from something else. You know, Mac users have access to a rich set of great native applications, apps that take full advantage of the power of Mac technologies. But Mac users also use apps based on other technologies. We routinely access web-based experiences like Netflix that build on WebKit, the standards-based web technology in Safari. And we also run sometimes cross-platform games built on technology like Metal. And all of these platforms enrich the Mac user's experience. But we think there's room for one more. And so we'd like to give you a sneak peek of a multi-year project we have going on, because we see a huge opportunity for the Mac to tap into the world's most vital app ecosystem. It's called iOS. I think you might be familiar with it. Now, there are millions of iOS apps out there, and we think some of them would be absolutely great on the Mac, and Mac users would love to have them there. And from a technical standpoint, it's actually a really good fit, because from day one, iOS and macOS have shared common foundations. But iOS devices and Mac devices, of course, are different, and the user interfaces are somewhat different, and so the frameworks underneath are as well. And that makes today porting an app from one to the other some work. Well, we wanted to make this much easier. And so we've taken some key frameworks from iOS and brought them to the Mac. And we've adapted them to specific Mac behaviors, like use of trackpad and mouse, window resizing, integration of things like copy and paste and drag and drop into the system services on the Mac. Now, phase one of this effort is to test it on ourselves. So this year in macOS, we've taken some of our own iOS apps, and we've brought them to the Mac using this technologies to make sure it works well. You've actually heard about several of them earlier today.
That makes sense.
And it turns out they make fantastic Mac apps, and we were able to bring them to the Mac with very few code changes. Now, this is going to be coming to you developers next year, so you can easily bring your iOS apps to the Mac. And in the meantime, we hope you enjoy news, stocks, voice memos, and home in Mojave. Now, we're really excited about Mojave. From desktop stacks to Finder with gallery view, to enhanced screenshots and markup, news and home on the Mac for the first time, stocks, and of course, the redesigned Mac App Store. And of course, there's even more. Like APFS now supports Fusion and hard drives, and Safari tabs can now have favicons if you want them there. And, of course, group FaceTime. So that's macOS Mojave. I hope you like it. I'm going to hand it back to Tim. Thank you so much.
Actually, that's a pretty significant